ahead and start. So hello and officially welcome to 5 Steps to Optimize and Sell Out Your Large-Scale Events. We're very happy to have you joining us today and appreciate you taking time from your busy schedules. My name is Kimberly and I'm part of the QGive team. If you haven't had the opportunity to work with us before, we're an online fundraising platform dedicated to helping nonprofits raise more money, and part of how we do that is through webinars like this one. So today's webinar will be about 45 minutes with a Q&A session to follow, keeping our total time together to an hour or less. We will be recording today's presentation and sending out a link with a copy of the presentation and some other resources to you tomorrow. So please be on the lookout for that. We are live tweeting the webinar highlights today at hashtag QGiveWebinar. So if you're a Twitter user, please join us. Our username is QGive. And if throughout you have any questions at any point during the presentation, please go ahead and put them into the questions, the Q&A box, and our presenter is ready to answer those and discuss at the Q&A portion that follows. After today's webinar, there is going to be a very short 4-question survey. We would love it if you take that. Your feedback is crucial in determining future content for webinars and other resources that we develop. So, before diving into today's presentation, let's just take a quick peek at QGive's background, mission, and offerings. QGive has been helping nonprofit organizations implement and grow their online fundraising programs since 2007. And as the importance of online giving has grown, our mission has remained the same, and that's to help others fulfill their passion to make a difference. And we do that through a comprehensive suite of fundraising tools featuring donation forms, event registration, peer-to-peer fundraising, text giving with outbound messaging, and auction events. We do value our relationships, and we're very proud to connect our nonprofit friends to our partner network in hopes that this helps increase your nonprofit's effectiveness and success. Today, we are excited to introduce you to one of our partners, Philanthropy United, an agency designed to help nonprofits thrive through digital strategy and amazing events. So without further ado, I introduce Leila Adnani, and as you're going to hear, Leila is very passionate about changing the world by optimizing nonprofit fundraising through events. So over to you, Leila.
Hello, hello. I am going to grab this screen really quick and we will get started. It is great to virtually meet everybody today. All right, so let me get this moved over to the side. 1 second. Perfect. All right, I am going to do my best to also throw in the Q&A as much as I can because I like to be a little bit more interactive in this, but let's get started. All right, so first, a little bit about me and my firm, Philanthropy United. We started in Washington, D.C., and we have 11 years of nonprofit event planning experience. We also have an amazing podcast, which we would love if you are a nonprofit leader for you to join us for free as a guest. We feature nonprofits from around the world, and it's a 30-minute Zoom interview. We get a decent amount of listeners every week, about 3,000 on average, and we would love to share your story. So please reach out to me afterwards if you're interested. So we love events. That's really where we got into all things nonprofit. It began with events, and then we realized that with digital strategy, things are a lot stronger. You can plan and you can sell out an event if you follow a specific structure, which is what we are going to be discussing today. So we developed a nonprofit audit to help people understand, okay, where do my events stand and where do I want to go and how can I spend less money but make more money? So the goal is pretty simple. We want to help you raise more money while creating unique donor experiences. So today we're going to talk about 5 key things that you can take and implement pretty much across the board. So when should you start planning a large event, which is typically over 200 people in attendance? Mind you, we are talking about live events only today. We are not talking about virtual. Number 2, what structure do you need in order to be able to sell your event out? What is your event value proposition, which is what is the impact that your event is going to have? Why is it critical that donors are showing up to support you? Mapping your donor pathway, communication and promotion plus planning, and your residual value strategy. An important thing after your event is over is that you have all of this content, and it's really important that you utilize that to promote the next one and continue promoting your organization. So let's jump right in. Number 1, Timing. When do you get started in planning? I know this is daunting. So for my organizations out there that have an annual, really large scale fundraiser, the best time to announce next year is at that event. So literally 1 year out. If you can't do that, if you're like, I'm creating our new large scale event and I'm kind of behind, what can I do? You can definitely do it 10 months out. That gives you a great lead time. You can still execute at a really, really high level. Can you do it in less though? Absolutely. You can do it under 8 months, but it makes it a lot harder for that next step, step number 2, which really, really helps. So I know that can sound daunting, but I promise you that the longer the lead time, the better the event execution will be. I mean, it makes sense, right? All right. So micro events. This is a huge part of the sellout strategy. These are small, they are intimate, and they're leading into that large event. You need to have one every other month until you are 2 months out from your large event. So you're like, okay, well, what are these? We call them friend raisers. I'm sure you all have heard that before as well. And they're great opportunities to be able to engage in lower cost settings, small things, shopping days, intimate dinners with your higher level donors, and you're asking all of them to bring 3 of their friends, free to attend. Sorry, if you see a cat popping around, I've got 2 of them, and you know how it is working from home. A couple of other ones that are really, really easy. Food. Do Chipotle nights, do mod pizza nights if you have mod pizza in your territory. Chipotle gives back 33% of whatever is purchased during, I think, a 2 or 4 hour period, which is a really, really high give back percentage. But it's great for an member of the organization to be at that location. If you're in multiple states, you can literally arrange a Chipotle in 7 different states on one night, promote it through all of your social networks, and all know a little low budget thing like that can really blossom into something bigger, because people love to support by doing simple things just like eating dinner, which everybody's got to do. Holiday giving parties. One thing that we really like to do for a small event is around the holiday season, if you're a nonprofit that really needs gift cards for different types of resources, say, hey, free to attend. We're doing it at one of our donors' homes. All we ask is that for each person who attends, you bring a $25, $50, whatever the amount, gift card in order to help fund. I like to be really specific in what we're asking for. So Amazon obviously always works well. If you want to do something a little bit more local, I 100% understand and support that, but just be strategic in giving people a framework for what you're looking for, so you don't end up with a bunch of gift cards to places that really don't benefit your organization and moving your mission forward. Anyways, while you're throwing these micro events, you will have already had your large scale event that's ideally 12 months out planned. And this is your opportunity to be giving out the information. You're showcasing the value proposition of what that event looks like. And you're really getting people engaged way further down the line versus what most organizations do is that 3 months prior, push, call your board, have them push a little bit harder. This creates a more organic way to bring in new donors from a variety of different backgrounds, because everybody knows somebody who wants to support you. Moving on. I'm sorry, I talk really fast, so I'm going to try and slow down. Event value proposition. This is huge. Having a really big gala. I love galas. I'm not knocking the gala, but it's got to be more than, hey, we're doing the thing that we do every single year. You're going to eat the same meal that you eat every year, probably at the same location, and we need you to drop $500 in order to do so. Does it work? Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of organizations out there like, yeah, we always kind of do the same event every single year and it's successful. So we don't want to mess with what works. But here's the thing with innovation. We know these things have worked, but there's still that next level. And what I want you all to think about is, what does that next level look like for us? If we've done something and it's worked, how can we enhance that? How can we make it better? How can we showcase exactly what the funds raised from this evening or day or whatever it looks like? How are they going to benefit the organization that these donors care so much about? Everybody wants to be attached to something that's successful and it's of positive impact. Your donors already care. Your new donors that you've established, that you've been taking along this journey for the past 10 months leading up to this event, they need to know, if I'm spending $500 on a ticket, what is that going to do? How is that going to transform the work that you're doing in order to make the world a better place, which is what all nonprofits are here to do, right? All right. So, major questions. Where will these funds go and who will they help? And I want you to be very granular in how you are describing that and putting that together, but succinct at the same time. If you need help writing an event value proposition, we are always here to help you. All right, moving on. I'm moving so quick. I apologize, but that leaves more time for Q&A, and I can get a little bit deeper on a couple of these topics. So mapping your donor pathway. This is something that we have seen most people just simply are not doing. So from the second somebody lands on the event page, your QGIve event page, and you're like, all right, what are you leading them through? Mentally, what is that donor experiencing? Are you taking the time to really put together an event page that tells the story of why this event is important, right? It brings them into the fold. Or are you just throwing up some cheesy graphics because it's what you guys have used in the years prior and you put a new date on it and a new time and a new location and that's it? I want people to think about each of those aspects because donors want to be re-engaged. They want to see something new. They want to experience something new. So put yourself for a second in the donor's seat, which I know can be so hard to do. I'm on your website. What's the value proposition and why am I going to buy this ticket? Because I always buy this ticket and I always buy a table and I love supporting this organization. There's going to be those people. Great. Well, then take that person who you know is your low-hanging fruit, who like always shows up and is ride or die for you, and say, all right, once they walk in the door, what are they experiencing? And this is where I want you to really think about every moment. If this is a gala, for example, once they get to valet, is it clear exactly where they're going? Are there volunteers and staff ready to greet them? Do you know your donors' names when they are arriving? Once they get to that registration table, does your registration staff, this happens all the time, they don't know if there's a silent auction, they don't know how to use the technology to be able to log into the silent auction. For those folks that we know just didn't download the app prior to the event, which, oh, so frustrating, but it happens. Is everybody trained in that? Because you're going to have a concerted staff person who's like, you don't have the app? Well, I'm here to help you. Let me go and show you exactly how you can get involved with this silent auction. Making sure everyone knows that run of show, making sure that everything is super, super well staffed. You want your donors to have a next level experience at your events, not just, hey, we had to do this on the cheap because we're a nonprofit and we're trying to save money. Put some money into it. Make sure you are locking in your communication. We love the ability to text prior to the event, a reminder, hey, we can't wait to see you tomorrow night at X location at X time. If you haven't downloaded the QGIve app yet, please do. Here's a link to Givey. Bam, takes them right there. Next, you have to use technology. You're on this webinar right now, which means you already are very well versed in being able to do so. At this day and age, there is a place for tech no matter what. Even if it's a free event and you are not charging, make sure you're utilizing all those different ways that you can be engaging your donor. What do most people do on a daily basis? They stare at their phone. They're scrolling through something, their LinkedIn, their Facebook, their Instagram, their email. This is a prime opportunity and so many nonprofits are not taking advantage of it. It's also a way to make sure that your donor is staying on the path that you have set. So what we like to do in office is we literally whiteboard it out from the second somebody arrives and gets out of a vehicle. Literally, we're determining, are they ride sharing or are they parking? What does that look like to get to the front door of this event? Once they've entered, what steps do we need to make sure in place? What visuals do we need to ensure are being seen that are telling the story of our event value proposition of why we are all here tonight? Are we running on time? Is everybody making sure that they're hitting their notes of, all right, programming begins. Are we moving people this direction? Are we moving people that direction? You don't want it to be a free-for-all. I think the one thing we all have in common is that we've been to a bad charity event at some point in our life. And we walked out and we're like, whew, that was painful. I'm definitely not going to go to that event again, even though I really like the organization. And you don't ever want to leave something to chance for someone to think that and feel that way, because you're leaving money on the table. And that's then inhibiting you from making that progress that you so desperately want to be making. You also need to be able to know you're creating hype. What do you want your donors to feel before they show up? It's really a full scale thought process. And then afterwards, you need to be able to communicate exactly what you all were able to achieve together. And we're going to get down into that into point 5, which is your promotion. I know this is where a lot of people get tripped up. You're like, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, emails. There's just so many things. And then I need to update my website and everything's got to fall into place. It can be really daunting. I know we do it literally every single day. So I 100% understand how most people feel here. If you find promotion to be taxing, please drop a question in the Q&A or the chat. And I would love to know what parts really kind of trip your organization up. I'm going to open up those things just so that I know that I'm seeing them. Anyways, oops, hit a button. Let me close this out now. All right. So, gosh, I keep clicking. Apologies, guys. All right. So promotion. Let me get this closed. There we go. Your communication structure and your social media. So we create a blueprint for every event because every event is very different. What is your early bird pricing structure? Your email structure. You can't be emailing people every single day about the event. That's going to annoy them. There's that fine line between annoyance and effectiveness. And we want to make sure we're always staying on the effective side. Social media promotion, making sure that it's cohesive across all of your platforms. And then what are you doing right before and right after? You don't create this as you go, which we see even with the most well-oiled machines of nonprofits, that it's kind of a haphazard, oh my gosh, I got to get a social media post put out there. So when you sit down with your board, your executive team, depending on whatever size your organization is, make sure that you're bringing in your marketing minds to put those pieces into play. Another tip when it comes to promotional planning, lean on the people you know just really, really love your organization. Who's engaging with you guys the most on social media? That's all data that you have access to at your hands. Send them a private message and say, hey, we would love for you to be able to promote this event. We're going to give you a promo code so that anyone that you get to come is going to get 10% off. Create different value propositions for your biggest donors and supporters to then become ambassadors of your event. It's super simple. And everybody, you got to remember, knows an entirely different network of people. And they may not realize just how important your organization is to their dear friend, Susie. So make it easy and give Susie all of the assets, give her customized social media pieces so that she can then go ahead and become that ambassador for you. I'd like to say for an event of over 200 people, if you can determine top 10 people you think would be ideal for that, you're in really good shape. And it doesn't take that long to be able to create all of that content, put it into a package, and then give them, hey, this is the outline of when I would like to see you posting these things. We would so appreciate it. As you know, the work that we're doing, we're really trying to fund a new medical equipment piece for children who are battling cancer, whatever it is. Just be super clear in stating that, not, hey, we really need to sell out our event, right? No one really cares about that. All right. So freebie, but this is super important. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes here. Your residual value strategy. We know that most nonprofits, after you get all those videos and those pictures back, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing with all this? The event is over. And I'm already thinking about the next year because ideally you just announced what's happening a year from now, right? But it's a huge opportunity to continue the PR of the event. Did you make sure that all of your local news outlets got that press kit after the event? Here's a video, here's the photos, here's the contact person for who you could interview to discuss the impact that we just had within our community. The news loves that kind of stuff. And I know that every nonprofit out there is kind of like, I know we could be doing more with PR because the work that we do, it matters so much. This is an easy way to package that all up nice and pretty and make sure that you're getting that added value. So it's about keeping your impact and your mission at the top of the minds of your donors and of new people. So creating blog posts around it. Of course, like I said, PR submissions, social media campaigns. You can literally take this content too and put an ad behind it. You can take the content from that year to be then putting paid ad strategy into promoting the following year and promoting that early bird. Hey, this just happened. Be the first to be able to get this ticket. And if it's $500 normally, you're going to get it for $250. And then you're like, $250, I'm giving it away half price. That's only for a short period of time. You're then going to increase that price. And maybe now, because you had that value proposition of you're coming in early, you're committing to us, you're going to be able to expand that event. So instead of 200 people, you're now at 1,000. We see that so often, and it's a really beautiful thing. So what else? Partnerships and sponsorships. Let's talk about that for a second, because that's a huge part of bringing in revenue. It's not necessarily about how you're selling out the event. You want to make sure that your partners and your sponsors are bringing people who care about your cause. They're not just coming because Wells Fargo had 3 extra seats at the table. And I know that's going to happen, nature of the game, but making sure that your sponsors and your partnerships can adequately explain why that event is important. But then for all of your sponsors, we love to do a custom video that says this event was with partnership of Wright Toyota, or this was sponsored by Wells Fargo, and give them that content, give them that video so that they can then use that in their corporate giving. I don't know, I'm trying to think. In their community impact guides, that's the word, community impact. Everybody within those organizations feels more connected when they see that their employer is doing something to benefit the greater good, but they're not going to build that video for themselves. They are counting on you as the organization to make sure you're able to hand that over. So this is definitely separate from your social media. It's going way more into those real conversations and into that public eye. Another thing that I want to make sure everybody's doing is making sure you're thanking your donors and making sure that you are thanking your sponsors. It is so critically important. So moving on to the next thing, we've got a wonderful freebie that really takes the guesswork out of this. It's a 3-part thank you email template. So first one, day after the event, you still have the ability on your QGive donation page to go back and donate, because people like to be associated directly with a successful campaign. And in this case, that campaign is your event. Thank you all so much for coming. Because of you, we were able to do X. You still have time if you weren't able to participate so that we can hit this goal of X to be able to fund Y. You're going to be shocked at how many people go onto that portal and click donate. I mean, honestly, it's astounding. And people think, oh, the event's over. People still are really interested in giving me money afterwards. Absolutely, because they love that they were involved in an organization that did something successfully. Number 2, the day after the event portal is officially closed. You've locked up the QGive page. It now says, thank you so much. It's announcing the date for next year. It's sending them to the next page, which is where you can buy the tickets for next year. You're issuing an email that says, here's what we were able to accomplish due to your generosity. You thank every single sponsor. You hyperlink every single sponsor so that they are getting that added value. And then finally, once you've received your event photo albums and your recap video, and if you're not doing those 2 things professionally, you need to be. An Instagram video is not enough. You want to have a library of content from year after year after year, done at really high levels. So if you've got the date for the next year already set, this is another perfect opportunity to announce it, promote it, and offer that early bird strategy of, hey, thank you for being here. We are so appreciative. You can get X amount off your ticket for the next 30 days, 2 weeks, you decide. I'm sure you all have worked with early bird situations and you know what's been most effective with your donors. Finally, if your organization has the bandwidth, handwritten thank you cards via the snail mail, they are a great touch if you've got that bandwidth and you've got that budget. I know I always love being thanked for my generosity. And even if I just showed up and I didn't make a huge donation, if I just purchased items through the silent auction, whatever it may be, making sure that your donors know you appreciate them. And of course, that your sponsors know that you appreciate them. All right. So takeaways, you want to plan ahead. 1 year is best practice. If you can't do it, aim for 10 months. If you can't do that, you can do it in 8, but like I said, 10, that's kind of like that sweet spot if you haven't announced it at that prior year. Make sure you're using your micro events as your miniature fundraising tool. It is your in-person promotion piece for that large upcoming event. And while we can do a million digital things, we all know how good it feels to meet someone face-to-face, to hear that impact story, to see that impact story in a really low cost, easy to enter environment. And most of the time your micro events are going to be free for people to attend. We like to do a lot of fitness classes for our organizations because where we're based, Scottsdale, Arizona, we do events all over the country, but for our organizations here, people love fitness. partnering with spin studios, boxing studios, oftentimes they'll say, hey, if you want to charge $30 for this, which is what the class costs, we will write that check right back to you. And we'll let you use our facility for free. So people are like, cool, I'm getting a workout, I'm supporting a good cause. The organization, you end up making money, and you're introduced to a lot of new people in that audience. So communicating the event value proposition. Like I said, if you need help writing one of those, we're here for you. It cannot just be, this is our annual event and you've come a million years before, so we're banking on you coming again. We want to continue to add new donors into these events. So you start right here and you end up right here. Make sure you're mapping that donor pathway. You're thinking about from the second they land on that event page website to the second they are showing up to what happens after. And then finally, that promotional plan and residual value strategy. Do not leave it to chance. Do not do it as you go. I hate the do it as you go approach. Oof, schedule it, plan it. I promise it takes probably a solid month to get all of these things put together. But once they're there and they're put into that back end scheduling system for your social, for your email, you're going to feel so much better because it's a huge weight lifted. And now the work is doing it for itself. Anyways, I know I talk fast, so we went through that way quicker than anticipated. But if you have any questions, you are always able to email me directly. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, you of course can hop onto our website and book that directly. You don't even need to send me a message. It's really that simple. And now I'm going to hand it back to Kimberly.
Well, Leila, I found that those are some great tips. There were some things in there I sat there going, yep. The handwritten note card, I love that. And when I've received it from nonprofits, I think it does mean something special. So folks, if you do have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A, but we'll look at chat also. So Bethany has put a question in there for you, Leila. So drink your water. She says, our biggest fundraisers of the year are award ceremonies honoring advocates, politicians, etc. Do you have any recommendations specifically for award ceremonies?
All right. How many people typically are at your award ceremony, and what is the venue of such? Just so I can get a better picture of what this looks like.
So Bethany, if you're listening, if you could answer that. While we're waiting for Bethany, hopefully to answer, I know that Jane, who was one of our trivia winners, she didn't have a question, but she did say that they don't have a blueprint and that it's rather hodgepodge. So I think that's resonating.
Exhausting? I mean, isn't that just so tiring? You constantly feel like you're behind when you're in that situation of, I know I need to do this. I know how much time people spend online and on their phones, and I don't have this locked in. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's super simple to put together, but once you sit down and you dedicate the time, once you've created that first blueprint, you can continue to add to it year after year. You can do small blueprints to start for those micro events, because of course you've got to be promoting those for people to show up. But then for that larger scale picture, it's something that once you've done it for the first time, you literally get to take that and say, all right, well, it's plug and play for the next year, but let me tweak it a little bit so it's that much more effective going into that second year.
Now, right. Bethany was able to answer. So again, the question was about award ceremonies, recommendations for those. She said the venue is currently virtual, anywhere from 500 to 300 people on average.
All right. And we're thinking about how we can get more people to attend. What was the final question?
Our biggest fundraisers of the year are award ceremonies honoring advocates and politicians. Do you have recommendations specifically for award ceremonies?
All right, for selling them out, if you are selling tickets for that award ceremony, I think that making sure you're explaining the event value proposition, right? A lot of the people I'm assuming you're honoring, people will know within your community, but then there's going to be people who've not heard of these folks. So just resting on the fact that you're honoring the police chief in your town, whomever it might be, all right, isn't going to be enough. In terms of virtual, that's going to really, I think you've got to lock in that promotion strategy, because that's what virtual boils down to. Truly, truly, truly. I hate to say this, we don't do virtual events. The large scale ones, our markets are all back to being in person. And I know that's not the case for everyone across the country, but that in-person touch point is truly where our expertise lies and what we really like find to be the most effective. So Bethany, I'm sorry if that didn't answer your question.
And I'll help you out a little bit, Leila. I just want to point out to Bethany and other folks here that if you go to the QGIve website, we have lots of different resources, and we do actually have some great guides on virtual and hybrid events. And so I think that might help a little bit there.
Yes.
Maggie, just throwing out there to everyone else, we are sending the recording today with the presentation out tomorrow and a link to some of these resources. So you know what, Bethany, I will make sure that email tomorrow has the virtual and hybrid guide in it, so that if you could look for that, then that'll help. Heather is asking, what is your recommended expense ratio for these large events?
Oof, that's tough. We've got to determine if this is the first time event and you haven't done it before, which means you're going in and you're like, I don't know how much we're going to raise because I've never done this before. And I don't have a magic ball that I can wave that's going to say, hey, you're going to make 500,000. I would say you always want to keep your expenses at the 20% mark of whatever you think you're going to raise, if possible. For a first year event, if you end up making, if it's a 50-50, you did really well, honestly, because you just don't know. And once again, that event value proposition is going to come in really handy, but make sure if it is a first time event, you don't have that background, add in auction, make sure you've got a couple of really awesome raffles. And I don't mean just like some stuffed animals and like random stuff that your cousin gave you from the last raffle they went to. I mean, really good high level things. We have a template letter for how you can get free auction item stuff and free raffle items from places within your community that are higher level than just, like a random thing here and there. But add in the easy, lower ways for people to give. I think a lot of nonprofits are like, oh, I hate raffles. I hate like dealing with silent auction. Well, good news, the QGIve app is amazing when it comes to both of these things. It does most of all the work for you. Secondly, it's a way for someone who's not trying to write a $5,000 check to say, hey, I walked away and I got some awesome stuff and I supported a good organization and it felt a lot better than just going to the mall to buy X, Y, and Z. I hope that helped. Let's see. Oh, Zoom burnout. I honestly, I feel bad that we're all on Zoom right now. I'd love to be talking to you in person, so I don't know. But I know that QGIve has good resources on that.
Yeah, and if anybody, as you're listening, has any kind of feedback that you want to put in, the question on that one was any tips for Zoom burnout, being that that Bethany's events are still virtual. So anyone who wants to chime in there. So Sarah Saeed, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. What are your theories on street teams or volunteer groups to help hit the ground promoting events old school style? We are faith-based, and a lot of times we still have a lot of volunteers we need to go promote at churches, mosques, etc. Is there a way to make that work? Because there's still a ton of donors that don't engage on social media.
Oh my gosh, yes, I think that this is even more effective than social media because it's that in-person connection. So to answer that, street team's great. Just make sure you're not just giving somebody a postcard and being like, here's the information, go talk to people. Make people run through it with you. For our events, I make my entire team, when we go to, someone walks up to do a check-in, I make them run through every single aspect of what they need to say. And if they mess it up, we do it again and we do it again and we do it again, so that we're ensuring that donor pathway, that first step of face-to-face is perfected. So for you with the street team, it sounds tedious, but make sure that those folks and those volunteers know exactly what they're doing and give them that time to rehearse. I think that they're going to be more confident and empowered because you did that with them versus just being like, read a 4-page PDF and then go promote whatever it might be. But also do make sure that you have a little bit of collateral and make that collateral stand out. Make it bright, make it interesting, make it a different shape, something different than just that typical, here's a postcard, here's an event invitation. I think a lot of the times people kind of forget, oh, different does stand out. Different does work.
Okay, well, thank you. Alicia is asking, because we have some great questions. Alicia is asking, do you have advice for pushing ideas and getting faster answers through upper management and board members to keep on track with deadlines?
All right. So this is where I think that you got to take a ton of initiative, honestly, and you put together everything that we just discussed, work through it and say, this is what we're doing here. This is what we're doing here. This is the time frame we're doing this. And you've created that blueprint. And now you're going up to those people that you need to get to sign off and say yes. And they're really impressed by you. They're saying, wow, she knows what she needs to do in order to be able to pull this off at the highest level. And I think it's not really about asking them for yeses. It's about showing them and being like, this is the effective way to do this. Do you approve? And then they're going to be like, oh, wow, we didn't even really have to sit down and create this whole game plan because Alicia just did. So that's what I would do in your situation.
Okay, thank you. Patricia is saying our annual benefit was canceled in 2020 and 2021. So this will be our first time back together in 2 years. How can we capitalize on that return to add some buzz and get some media coverage?
All right. Unfortunately, so many people's benefits were canceled in person. It depends on what type of organization you are. If you want to drop that in, I am looking at the chat box right now into how I would position that to getting more media coverage. But really, I like the one-on-one, a literacy organization, early literacy. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Depending on who you work with in your community, talk to them and figure out who would be really great on camera to say the impact that you guys make, and not just your executive director, your board chair, whomever. So they're being like, this organization has helped my family be able to do blah, 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 if that's how this works. The best way to get PR and press, if you've got no real background in it, is they've got emails where you can send your pitches directly to them. The more information that you have from years prior on how successful it was, the impact, once again, and how many people you've brought into your community within that community, the better. So they see, hey, if we talk about this on TV, there really is something that's going to resonate with that general audience. It's good that you literally can help everybody with early literacy. Capitalize on the return. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to think about that one a little bit more.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump back over. Brittany, our small organization does a yearly conference that generally garners about 200 or so attendees. It is planned to be in person, possibly hybrid. Do you have any recommendations on what micro events might lend themselves to generating hype for that conference?
All right. Conference. Yes. I mean, I love conferences, micro events. It also depends on what type of organization you are. Let me see, Brittany Lippincott. Did you tell us what type of organization you are already, Brittany? I apologize if you did.
Brittany, if you're still on, if you could just let us know. But I do think we'll have some interesting things in the hybrid and virtual information we send out to you tomorrow as well. But these micro events leading up.
I mean, depending on what the conference is about, you can do a lot of different small short form virtual engagements, similar to how we're doing it today, where you're adding value to the people that your conference is benefiting.
Brain injuries. We serve individuals with brain injuries, so our conference is geared towards current topics in the field of brain injury. That's Brittany.
All right. Brain injury. I would do a mix of hybrid for your lead up for your micro events. I would do some small in-person, maybe in-person seminars where you're giving a ton of value out to those individuals, and it's an in-person, maybe it's Q&A. We're here to help connect you with the resources for whatever people with brain injuries are currently facing and coming to this conference for, but you're doing it on a small, more intimate level. And then I would also do something much like this, a webinar where, hey, this is a Q&A for 35 minutes with one of the leaders in brain injury. And they're going to be able to answer this, that, and this. Make it free. And then make sure you say, hey, we've got this conference coming up and we would love for you all to be able to join us with this. You're going to want to do a heavy email promotion, and you're definitely going to want to do some social if you guys are on social. For you, LinkedIn is going to be gold. Make sure you're tagging the right individuals who are A, supporters, B, doctors within that field, and C, those higher level ups within your organization.
Okay. Jumping completely different topic, Heather has asked, do you have any examples of volunteer event committee job descriptions?
I mean, I probably do off the top of my head. No. The way that we do event volunteers for the ones that we run from start to finish for organizations is that we're leaning on our board. And then we're also going to social media to ask people, are you interested in doing X, Y, and Z to help this organization? We also typically send out an email to the different segments. And we say, hey, we're looking for people who are willing to do X, Y, Z on this date. And honestly, that works pretty well. If it's something that's really, really high level, that is definitely going to change. And I understand having a job description for that. But no, honestly, we just lean on our networks and we typically get a flood of folks who are willing to help.
And I don't think on the QGIve site we have job descriptions either, Heather, but we do have some volunteer resources as well that you might want to check out on our site and hopefully, but I wrote that down as something that we might think about adding in the future because we love ideas. Saeed, you can ask as many questions as you like. Saeed said that, not sure if they were able to ask a second question. So for fundraisers, what is your theory on ticket costs? Do you believe the ticket should cover the actual cost per individual? Should it just help to offset costs? Or should it be above and beyond the cost to bring in more money? If you know the room will be full and you have cheap tickets, should you go that route or stick to your guns and have less people, but all invested fully?
Depends where you started. So if you've done events in the past, then say you charged, I don't know, $25. That's super, super low. If you guys are charging $25 for actual big events, please don't. Nothing should be, in my opinion, under $100 ever when it comes to a large scale event of 200 plus people. Micro events, sure, charge 25 bucks, but A, hopefully that helps a little bit. B, it would be amazing if your ticket is able to bring in money on top of it. Unless you're a very, very well large established organization, we often see that that's simply not the case. So a good rule of thumb, 50-50, it's offsetting. And then as you grow, it makes sense for those tickets to keep climbing. We've got an organization here that we work with, tickets started at $250. Then it bumped up to $300, $350. Now it's at $500. And it's a room of really, really invested people who care about that organization and know that because this event is such a well-oiled machine, that they 100% want to be there, not just to support the organization, but because it's something that they enjoy. It's a fun event, right? Fundraising should be fun. So is there value in charging more? That's what you've got to be asking yourself. A lot of the times I know that we get insecure of, oh, should I increase this price? If it's not at $100 yet, bump. And then incrementally.
Well, I hope that answers your questions, Saeed. I looked back and it looks like I missed a question from Mary. She basically, they do a breakfast to honor older adults for their continuing engagement in the community. So she was hoping there might be some tips on making the breakfast seem special.
All right. Is this Mary Day?
It is. Yes.
Seniors who rock. Okay. Annual award events. I like that. You share video testimonials about your work and impact. Adding a photo backdrop this year for those who want to do photos with props. The way that I've seen breakfast work the absolute best. And I don't know if this is your format or not. And I'm not saying to change it if it's not. I'm going to one actually in 2 days. It's free to attend, but the videos and the way that it's structured is so strategic. And everybody at one point during that breakfast is crying. When do you go to breakfast and cry? Pretty much never. And then there's that like QGIve, hey, scan me to donate right here, right now. There's no auctions. There's no raffles. It is super, super clean cut, but you've got the QR code and then you've got the donation form that you can manually fill out right there. The thing with making those monetized is tell people what each level of donation is going to be able to do. And this is honestly where I think you need to push the recurring monthly donation. So many people don't have that set up or optimized. First step, get it set up. Second step, optimize the heck out of it. If you get someone giving you $100 a month, and then you get 10 people doing it, you are now bringing in money that you can count on. And it's a game changer for organizations, especially with breakfast. That's the formatting that I have seen work incredibly well. How to make it a little bit more interesting, just make sure that your video content, it's impacting. People are going to leave feeling, oh my God, this is so important. Also make sure that you're inviting folks of all ages to see how important what you do is, and it's not just seniors. I hope that, I mean, it's about your work for seniors and the impact. So I'm assuming you do have the younger audience as well.
Saeed has put in another question, which thank you, Saeed. We had a gala which reduced cost and had nearly 2,000 people. Wow, that's a lot. But it raised less overall per person. But when we had higher prices and less people, we raised a lot. Now our leadership is wondering which works better, and it's become quite the debate. So I don't know if you had anything to share on that, Leila.
100%. Here's the easy way to win. Meet in the middle, right? Don't go back down to where you were. Go to something that's a nice, happy in between and see where that lands. I think that you're probably going to raise even more money and you're still going to have nearly 2,000 people, if not more. And you'll be pretty surprised by that, that outcome. I don't think it's got to be an either or. And then if in the middle, you don't get the result that you're looking for, which is of course, more money in the bank, then drop down a little bit and don't highlight the fact that you're dropping prices, right? Don't highlight the fact that you're bumping that price up. Focus on your impact and why it's important that people show up, and not so much on the dollar amount it takes for someone to get their butt into that seat.
Okay, so do we have other questions? I mean, we've had some great content here. I'll throw one out to you, just something I was thinking about while we see if other people drop in some comments. You talk about video quite a bit, and I know it's just very impactful, you know, online and social media, but you're also talking about at events and whatnot. Are there any video resources that you might want to suggest for folks listening? Like, I found out that our favorite, I think everyone in the marketing department at QGive loves Canva, Canva, and they just added a video component, which I think is great for non-technical people. But outside of that, I'm not familiar with others. Are you, Leila?
All right. So when it comes to video, Canva is so great for social media. I definitely recommend it as well. But when it comes to video, you need to have professionally shot video. And there's freelance videographers that you can find literally everywhere. You ask someone, you ask your board, somebody's going to have the name of somebody who can help you with that. But I think that for nonprofits to get the most bang for their buck, and for the videographer to say, hey, I'll do this at a lower rate because you are a nonprofit, say, I'm willing to pay X, and then I'm willing to give you the rest as a tax deductible receipt for services that have been donated in kind for us to be able to do this. Have a clear scope of what you need. I need 5 short form videos under a minute of all of our board members who are promoting and talking about different aspects of our event. And then I need you to take all of those little short form videos and put them into one longer video so that each person is highlighted and you're talking about what we're here to accomplish with this year's big, large scale event. You can also throw that short form content into a Canva template and make sure your logos and all that fun stuff is there. If you've got that technical expertise, it's not that difficult. But I mean, I don't want to, no offense, I don't want to see a bunch of iPhone videos that are promoting a $500 ticket event. That's not going to cut it. You also, when you're filming your impact videos, I'm sure all of you guys have people who professionally do that and put them together. Just make sure that they're taking the time in the editing process to hit on the things that really are the most impacting. So whoever's your media director should be sitting there for those interviews, for example, for seniors who rock, and making sure, hey, that's the point that you got to make sure comes across when it comes to editing, because you, as that person in the organization, you see that in a different way that a videographer might not. So be really clear. That's my best advice, and utilize those in-kind tax receipts.
So we have 2 more questions, and I think one's for Leila, and I think one might be for Brendan, who's been very quiet. So Brendan, Mary has asked a question, which I think is probably more of a you. What are the costs of monthly gifts to the nonprofit? She's talking about credit card processing. So Brendan or Jack from the QGive team.
Sure, I can jump in on that, Mary. Thank you for the question. QGive takes the approach of all of our rates being transparent. So if you're using QGive, you can see the fees online. One great feature that many platforms have these days is one that QGive also has, and it's our gift, what we call gift assist. Oftentimes when our best clients are running their recurring giving programs, they enable that feature, and it allows me as the donor, when I'm setting up that recurring gift, to offset some of the expenses of that cost. So in a lot of ways, the donor themselves can give a little bit more to cover those processing fees. So while our rates are 3.95% and 30 cents, you can see that on our pricing page, there might be a way for you to offset that by offering some of those options to donors to select that box that says, yes, I'd like to give an extra $5, et cetera. Hope that helps, Mary.
Yes. So it looks like a couple people are chiming in that a lot of their donors opt into the gift assist. So the question
And also, let me jump in really quick on the QGive event page. You also have that option to be able to say when you buy the ticket, do you want to cover those credit card processing fees?
That's
and
correct.
In our history, so many people, I'd say 80% of people opt in to do that. So
yeah,
I know I do.
Our average is pretty high. It's around 70%. When that's enabled, about 70% of the donors or registrants will select that option. So that's accurate. Yep.
All right. So Alicia has asked, when hosting large events, do you find VIP ticket options effective? And this is for Leila, Brendan, not you.
all right, hosting large events, VIP ticket. It depends. So I'm going to give an example that might not apply, but we had one that we have a lot of donors who are from out of town. So within our VIP ticket pricing, we included a hotel room, a bottle of wine, of course, tickets to the event. And then they had like an additional option to include transportation, right? Like check it if you want it. And it was a little bit of an added fee because other people were like, no, I'm actually driving, but I need a place to stay. And the VIP ticket option was great because it bundled in all this stuff and it ensured that these people were going to be there without having to deal with the headache of, oh, I got to book this, I got to book this, I got to call them, do this room block. So in that sense, I love VIP ticket options. What I hate to see is a VIP ticket option that includes like one dumb little thing. You're like, oh, there's a happy hour like right before, right after the event. That's not enough. People are like, if it's about having a cocktail, I'm going to have one at the event. I don't need to pay an extra $200 for this like very small menial thing that's added on. So I do like a VIP ticket, but it's got to be value added and really enticing to the donor where it's like, yeah, why wouldn't I do that? That sounds great. But you also need to make sure you're making money off the top of it.
And then Brittany has asked a blueprint related question. Do you have any advice for proposing a budget? With our organization being on the smaller side, I found it challenging at times to get buy-in for paid advertising, social media especially.
All right, Brittany, I don't know if you know about this, but there is a $10,000 Google ad credit that Google gives to nonprofits. And it's kind of annoying to get through the paperwork and the minutia, but once you've gotten through it, you literally have $10,000. And if your organization hasn't utilized it yet, you are the genius in the room for bringing that in to the blueprint when you go and you walk up and you say, this is what we need to do. And I found the budget for it. So you really have no reason to say no, because I'm not actually asking you to fund and write the check. If you've already utilized that and you're like, oh, sorry, but I'm 10 steps ahead of you, I would say start really small. Don't ask them for a huge ad budget. Say, why don't we try, and I believe in A/B testing to the moon and back. I want to do this ad for 1 week and I want to do this ad for the other week. I want to put $100 on week 1 and $100 on week 2. Then let's sit and let's analyze what performed better, what led people to take action. Remember, when it comes to ads, for someone who doesn't know you, it's going to take 7 touch points for them to then finally decide that they are compelled enough to go and buy that ticket, to go and learn more. So make sure you've got a landing spot where people, it's not just go and buy the ticket. Get their information so that you can remarket to them to continue hitting that 7-point touch point for the new folks. For the people that you already know that are within that network, I believe through your Facebook and Instagram ads specifically, you can designate that it's just people who are following you. And ideally, those people have already been warmed up. So that could be a way of spending a little bit less money and not having to hit that 7 touch point. But Google Ad Credit, I can send you all the information on it after this if you don't have it.
So it looks like, unless I'm mistaken, that was the last question. So we've covered so much. And Leila, thank you for sharing all of this great information. I do want to share with everyone that in the follow-up email, one of the templates Leila mentioned is we're going to link to that. Plus, we also are linking to what is a free consult that you're offering, Leila, to everyone?
Yeah, so any question, I know everybody's questions are different. Every organization is different. 45 minutes, it'll be via Zoom. Just ask me anything. And as much as I possibly can, I will help you and guide you. But remember, we love live events and the digital marketing aspect of it. So that's really our zone of genius. If it's, something way beyond that, I can't promise I can be able to help, but I will do my best.
So thank you again, Leila, Brendan, Jack. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We are going to be emailing the recording from today, the presentation, and some of these links we've been talking about and some other great resources. So if you would like to reach out, our contact information as well as Leila's is in the presentation, as also on the slide. Please don't forget to take the survey. We hope that you got great value out of everything we covered today and it helps you with your event fundraising. So thanks again, and we will be in touch. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Bye.